All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Name Leader 13, and today we're going to get underway with our second to last race of the IESC GT3 season here. It's also IESC's first race here in 2025. Before we get too deep into anything, though, let's look at the championship points as they are right now. At the bottom, India, Whitepen, and Smedini still have yet to make another start. So they are still tied for 38th with 100 points each. 37th is Tire Bear with 130 points. 36th is Escosol Cerro with 155 points. 35th is SVR Carrera with 185. 34th is SVR Karki with 190 points. 33rd is BDF 48 Gaming with 200 points. 32nd is Redline FM with 205 points. There's a tie for 30th between Deedspeed and Indiel Avocado. They both have 225 points. 29th will be Raygun vs. Zombie with 240 points. 28th will be AMS Custom Dips. He has 255 points. 27th is RV and Chaos Fox with 265. 26th is H-Wire Mall with 275 points. 25th is AMS Virage with 310 points. 24th is Grand Wolf 1221. He has 345 points, which has brought him into a tie with HYR Vasco in 23rd. 22nd is Tactical Thought with 355 points. 21st is FM Esports with 445 points. 20th is Now Prime 77 with 455. 19th is Camworthy with 490 points. 18th is TFP Matter. He has 545 points. 17th is SDR Dremora with 595 points. 16th is RZX U5 AMVP with 775 points. And it's a big jump to 15th. That is AMS Mercs with 905 points. 14th is AMS Beast with 975 points. 13th is NFL Racer 4812 with 1,275 points. 12th is AMS Andrew with 1,450 points. 11th is F1R Tronic with 1,495 points. Then it's a jump to 9th. There's a tie for 9th between AMS and Doctor and AMS Rambo. They both have 1,555 points each. 8th is PTG Little Caesar with 1,620 points. 7th is PN221 with 1,895 points. 6th, and this is where things get kind of interesting because we have a four-way fight for third in the points. 6th is Prius Killer 8110. He has 2,025 points. 5th is NDL Dindu with 2,075 points. 3rd and 4th, SDR Shredder and Ludicrous Speed are both tied with 2,135 points each. And then your championship fight. Second is PTG J Caesar with 2,405 points. AMS Mead 212 is your title leader with 2,470 points. So with just 65 points separating your top two, it really comes down to this. If Mead can bring home a pair of podium finishes in these last two races, even if J Caesar wins these last two races, Mead will still win the championship. But if Mead is not able to finish on the podium in these last two races, if either of these events do not result in a podium result, then J Caesar suddenly has a serious shot at the championship fight. That might not sound like it's too hard considering how strong Mead has been through the majority of the season. However, all things considered, I would go ahead and say that Mead's shown some weakness. Not massive weakness, and I do think J Caesar's really only come on strong late. But I do think J Caesar has shown, Mead has shown some weakness, and this is not just a easy walk-off for him at the moment. So right now we're waiting to get underway for the event. Some of the drivers showing up today. PM is going to be representing the Acura once again. AMS and Doctor is one of two Viper drivers along with NFL Racer 4812. AMS Rambo is one of two Lexus drivers today. Andrew is running the Aston Martin Vantage again. Shredder continues to be the lone Mercedes AMG GT3 entry, as Ludacris also is the lone Chevrolet entry. Prius Killer and both father and son in the Caesar clan are all representing BMWs. Indiel Dindu is representing the Ferrari. Grand Wolf is in the Lexus. And obviously your points leader Mead is also in the Lexus here, as we are still waiting to get underway. Every now and again you will hear, you should be able to hear what will sound like thunder and lightning in the background. That's not actual thunder and lightning. Not in real life, at least. The game has a setting where the track is still dry, but you'll hear rain in the background. Also past a really heavy cloud, what's called thunderclouds or thunderstorm, I believe. But the track is dry, and the track is anticipated to stay dry throughout the entirety of this event. So keep that in mind. When it comes to your pole sitter, I believe that is going to be AMS Mead, who will be your pole sitter for today's event here at Silverstone. So here we are as we prepare to load onto the circuit. We'll see if they were actually able to load everyone onto the circuit right away without too much issue this time. That'd be incredible if they did. 3, 2, 1, and all right, everyone's here, and now they'll start getting lined up, I imagine. Again, we are anticipating that should be PTG Day Caesar, who's going to be starting 4th, while his title rival Mead is believed to be on the pole position in today's event. All right. I don't know what AMS Rambo was doing all the way back there. Maybe he damaged himself as they were doing the pre-race checks. That would not be the first time that's happened. I also want to give a shout out to Grand Wolf. Good job on Wolf on once again starting up near the front. However, at Watkins Glen, that didn't really bring him any good results. He spun out on the first racing lap, fell all the way to the back of the grid, and while he was making moves up the order, he ended up getting caught in an accident with ludicrous speed and left the race shortly afterwards, so that's not necessarily going to help. We're going to try and cram an ad break in now before we get underway with the race. All right, we are looking at our first and second place starters, Mead and Grand Wolf. Lexus has locked out the front row today. Coming into this race, a lot of drivers from a lot of different manufacturers have been complaining that the circuit seems to have no grip. It's wide, so there's lots of lines, but everyone is saying there's no grip on the circuit. The only drivers who are not having an issue with grip has been the Lexus drivers who started first and second, and the one Ferrari driver in NDL didn't do. Everyone else behind those top three on qualifying are saying that grip is at a premium today. So it could be interesting because this race might be decided by just cars that have more inherent grip, either by wider tires or better mechanical setup, could end up absolutely dominating in today's event. We'll definitely keep an eye on that as we see the field coming through the Maggots and Beckett's corners right now. $13 cars for today's event. Most interesting fight to watch is obviously there's the championship fight, but again, NDL Didn't Do is currently behind Ludicrous Speed and SRG Shredder when it comes to the points fight for third in drivers' championships, and then Prius Killer is not too far out from that fight as well. All four of those drivers, if they all show up to next week's race at least, we could have an interesting four-way fight for third in the drivers' championship. So keep an eye on that. For Ludicrous Speed, it would be his first time finishing in the top three in the drivers' points in years. Same with SRD Shredder. But everyone's doubled up as we're preparing to come through the final chicane. Jay Caesar is in fourth. He needs to make quick work of the drivers between himself and Mead if he wants a good shot at this championship. Mead has had enough time. Hopefully he's going to be hoping his hand is healed up as they come out of the final corner. The last regular race of the season is going to be underway. 13 cars take the green flag, and we are off here at Silverstone as the field immediately rushes down into turn 1, and around the outside is Grand Wolf, keeping Mead honest. Wolf will have the ideal inside line. He gets touched from behind by the BMW of Prius Killer, and he's immediately going to fall behind Little Caesar, and Jay Caesar has slipped back to 6, and Mead is now out in front without any issues whatsoever. So again, Grand Wolf may be great in qualifying, but his initial lap 1 performances have been leaving a lot lacking. Now Jay Caesar is tucked up behind him. Grand Wolf immediately is starting to put pressure on Lil Caesar. Lil Caesar falls in line behind Dindu. Dindu falls in line behind. And there Grand Wolf gets touched again by Jay Caesar behind. Coming out of Sector 1 now. So it's Mead and Dindu at the front. And now we see Grand Wolf get to the inside of Little Caesar. Again, Lexuses have supposedly had a great run when it's come to mechanical grip today, and here at the front, Dindu is putting Mead under some incredible pressure right now. Ferrari tucked up right behind the Lexus. Is he going to make a run on the run into Maggots and Beckett's? He looks to the inside, but will back out and fall back in line behind the Lexus here. Jay Caesar slipped back to 5th, while his title rival is currently in 1st. Lil Caesar closes in behind Dindu for a moment, but those top 2 shoot out of the final bit of the Estes without issue. Dindu has a huge toe off of Mead, going down what is probably the longest straightaway here. He now looks to the outside of the Lexus, lunges deep on the outside. They're still side by side. This has brought Jay Caesar back into the fray. This has also brought, Lil Caesar back into the fray. This has also brought Grand Wolf into the fray. So the top 4 all tucked on top of each other, and Dindu will complete the pass on Mead, park the car right in front of Mead, and Dindu, despite not even qualifying on the front row, will move into the top position here. Jay Caesar still trapped up behind Grand Wolf. He's got another BMW in the form of Prius Killer just behind him. All things considered, despite getting turned sideways in turn 2, Grand Wolf has maintained a top 4 position at this stage of the event. But Dindu has opened up an 8/10 gap already to Mead, as Mead seems to be struggling under the pressure of not Jay Caesar the elder, but Little Caesar the younger, which is not something anyone was really anticipating throughout most of the season. It is Jay Caesar who has been the faster of the duo, but right now it is Little Caesar who is punching a little bit higher up his weight class than what we're used to seeing. Now we see Jay Caesar get to the inside of Grand Wolf there. Couldn't make the pass stick. Prius Killer is now actually going to get by Jay Caesar. So Jay Caesar struggling massively here in the early stages. And that has been one of his biggest weaknesses all season long. Even when he has a good car, his qualifying and starting positions have not been great. He's often a little bit slow on the draw also. We've seen him drop as far back as 7th in some of these races and have to claw his way back up through the grid. And it looks like that may be what's compromising Jay Caesar's run today as well. But we know the BMWs are fast. Lil Caesar, who qualified 5th, is already in 3rd and putting AMS Mead at the front of the field under some immense pressure right now. Now he's going to go to the outside and try to replicate the same move that we saw Indiel Dindu make earlier. He lunges a lot deeper, isn't as closely packed up. Mead is going to get by, but now Lil Caesar is going to try the crossover. Thing is, Mead will now have the ideal line coming into this chicane. Oh, wow! And that was a lunge by Grand Wolf, getting into Prius Killer in the process. Prius having a very, very strong performance at the moment. Very similar, honestly, to what Prius was putting down before the yellow flags at Watkins Glen as well. And now Jay Caesar has gotten by Grand Wolf. But he has to get by 2 BMWs ahead as Lil Caesar continues to put pressure on Mead. My goodness, Prius absolutely dives it into turn 3 and then leaves himself open for attack by J. Caesar in turn 4. Mead may have stabilized just a little bit, but look at the gap that Dindu has opened on the rest of the field. 2.5 seconds over Mead right now. Dindu has won. He won at Spa, but it was in very unique circumstances as the two top drivers for most of the Spa race had instances that saw him either not finish or go off in the last few laps, and it put Dindu in the catbird seat. But right now, Dindu is absolutely lighting the tires and just pulling away gradually from the field. Mead continues to be hounded by PTG Little Caesar at the moment. Prius Killer and J. Caesar continue their fight, and wow, Prius way off circuit. I don't know what in the world happened there, but he seems to have completely lost the plot. But now he'll fall behind Grand Wolf. This is good news for J. Caesar, assuming he wasn't the one who just knocked him off. I don't think he was, but assuming he didn't knock him off, J. Caesar now moves up into 4th. He's still behind Mead, though. He needs to be ahead of Mead. He needs to have multiple cars between himself and Mead as this event goes on. But Mead is not getting away. Little Caesar tucked up behind. He's looking to the inside. Mead is going to drift and close the door. Now Little Caesar lunges to the outside. Same move he tried last time. He'll try the crossover on corner exit once again, I imagine. No, he does not. He actually backs out. Is he going to try and dive? No, they stay pretty much single file, although they fan out on corner exit, and now J. Caesar looks to Little Caesar's outside in the final corners. Oh, wow, Mead! Whoa! Mead all sorts of sideways over the curbs. And that's Grand Wolf who's back into the fray now. And J. Caesar falls back to 4th. Mead cannot get away from this group behind him. Little Caesar and Grand Wolf are absolutely putting him under some immense pressure right now. And that is Prius Killer, who's already about to close back in on this group. Lexus of Grand Wolf and the BMW J. Caesar slide off, so it's Little Caesar who once again is in position to try and make moves on Mead. He looks to the inside. Door banging. But now Little Caesar's going to be trapped on the outside line through here, and now it is Grand Wolf who gets to the inside of the Lexus. Mead slides a little bit wide, and they're side by side now behind him. Right on board J. Caesar in this absolutely incredible battle we're seeing, all while Dindu continues to scoot away from the field as he is not fighting with anybody at this stage of the event. Lexuses neck and neck on the run into Maggots and Beckett's. Who backs out? Neither of them back out. No, it is. It will be Mead who backs out, and then Mead hits Grand Wolf from behind, kicks the Lexus ahead sideways, and now Little Caesar has a run. He pinches Mead. J. Caesar has a run on both of them. And it's Grand Wolf who's now starting to scoot away just a little bit. Little Caesar on the inside of Mead now. So can Mead hold it around the outside of the BMW? No, he immediately falls in line behind, and now J. Caesar ends up behind Mead. He does not seem to have what it takes to make moves at this early stage of the race. I don't know if he's being cautious with his tires, cautious with moves, or what, but Mead seems to be a lot more aggressive and able to make a lot more moves than what we're seeing J. Caesar do. Because honestly, Little Caesar, who is being the more impressive BMW driver right now in this fight, and now Grand Wolf has already opened up more than a second on Mead. Little Caesar all sorts of sideways, really struggling to put the power down through 4. Now on to the first of what's realistically 3 back straightaways on this circuit. Mead in the Lexus has superior straight line speed. And now J. Caesar is being significantly held up by his son Little Caesar. Side by side on the run out, but Little Caesar on the outside line is able to push the car a bit and try and find a little bit more grip and get away from his father. And again, Prius is not that far behind J. Caesar. He is keeping this group honest. And now Jay Caesar completely loses the track there. That's not going to help. He really needs Little Caesar to get to the inside of Mead and force Mead to run an unideal line so he can get and go through and follow his son by. Mead is all sorts of sideways out. Magnus and Beck is really struggling with grip. We thought the Lexuses weren't having trouble with grip, but Mead at least is. Now Little Caesar's on the inside. Now Mead is on the inside. Jay Caesar's going to take a wider entry in, hoping that maybe he can cross over or make a move to the extreme outside. Mead has the run out of the corner. Now Jay Caesar to the inside of his son Little Caesar. But then it turns into Little Caesar having the ideal line coming out of the chicane, and they just can't make moves. And Prius Killer, despite going way off circuit earlier, is still right there. All the while, Dindu has opened out a 6-second gap on Grand Wolf, and Wolf is almost 3 seconds ahead of this fight from 3rd to 6th. BMWs versus Lexuses. And obviously, it's not hard to get alongside somebody. It's just hard to actually get a pass completed. And then once you get a pass completed, if you're fast enough in the next 2 or 3 corners, you can immediately open a gap. But it's so hard to just get away from the drivers behind, it seems. Little Caesar did not have a great run that time by. But Mead hasn't really pulled away in the way that we thought he might be able to earlier based off of his qualifying performance. Neither of our title rivals really seem to be very strong in race conditions right now. And Little Caesar's in a little fight of his own. He wants to try and eclipse Arzium Valkyrie, who hasn't showed up since the Le Mans race. He wants to eclipse Valkyrie in the total points that he's earned this season. His best result has been 2nd, which he got at Road America in his last start. He'd love to try and make it 1 spot better, but with how much Dindu and Grand Wolf have stretched away, I'm not sure that's going to happen. Jay Caesar honestly seems to be losing the plot to this duo, and now once again we see Little Caesar do the crossover. He's a lot faster out this time, though, and he'll complete the overtake on me. Great job on Little Caesar's part. He had been trying that same move 3 times before. Each time it did not work, and me just kind of stopped really defending against it. And Little Caesar absolutely maximized and has completed the move. Again, Mead is still ahead of Jay Caesar at the moment. Right on board Prius Killer as he watches the 2 title fighters go at for 4th position just ahead of him. Boy, and immediately Little Caesar just starts running away. Yeah, Little Caesar is basically gone from this fight as long as he doesn't make any mistakes or have to deal with some significant tire fall off. He is gone, and this is a legitimate mano-a-mano fight between our 2 title rivals for 4th position. Meanwhile, Ludacris and Shredder, who are fighting for 3rd overall in drivers' points, are way back there in 10th and 11th. Prius, who is 6th in drivers' points right now, and he's running 6th, and Dindu, who is 5th, is running 1st on track right now. So while Prius and Dindu are both in position to close massively on Ludacris and Shredder, with just 1 more race after today's, soon they all finish where they are right now. And there are some good battles going on farther down the track, but this is the one that has everything to do with the title fight, this current fight for 4th, and that's why our focus is on this. Mead slides a little wide. Jay Caesar has a run. Jay Caesar going to commit to the outside. He saw his son make a move on the outside work because he crossed over on the run out. Mead slides wide, kind of pushes and pitches Jay Caesar just a little bit to the outside, but Jay Caesar's still there. Under braking, Mead lunges in a little deeper. Jay Caesar goes over the infield curb, gets himself sideways, and Mead is going to be able to power out of the chicane and hold on to fourth for now. But this duo cannot get away from each other. Meanwhile, Indiel Dindu on track for his what could be his second win of the season. And Jay Caesar, look at that lunge in turn one. Risky, desperate, but he wants to get by Mead as fast as possible. He's to the inside in three as well. Both cars side wide. Mead has the inside line, but Jay Caesar on the outside can maybe move the car around a bit and find some more grip out there. It's Prius who runs off. Side by side. But the Lexus has the inside line, which is the line you typically want to have through here. And yes, he'll hold station over Jay Caesar. Jay Caesar will try the crossover, but now he'll be on the outside of the Lexus, and he now has to fall back in line behind. The gap was 65 points coming into this event. The good news for Jay Caesar is that Mead is where he needs to be for Jay Caesar to have a shot at the title. The bad news, though, is that Jay Caesar needs to be out where Dindu is right now. Almost pulls alongside through Maggots and Beckett's as they fire out onto the longest straightaway here. Again, Prius Killer is kind of the spanner in the works. If Jay Caesar makes a mistake, Prius will go right back by without issue. Of course, the other question is going to be tires. What kind of tires are everyone using? Mead has shown a lot of... Oh, and Prius is already pitting on lap 10. Real quickly, let's go ahead and look at tire life. 32% for Mead. And just behind him is Jay Caesar, who is running with a tire life of 52. So it seems like Jay Caesar is on a softer tire compound than Mead and has just not been able to do anything to get by with this fresher rubber. Lexus is struggling, but with the way it's looking right now, at least, it seems that Mead... Oh! And Jay Caesar's trying to go around the outside the long way around. Can't make it stick, though. It's really easy to get side by side at Silverstone, but actually making an overtake stick, that is borderline impossible. And with Jay Caesar's tires burning up under him, and Mead still having plenty of life left, although he is on a harder compound tire, this could be disastrous for Jay Caesar, because he will end up behind Mead in the overall pit stop fight. And with this being a 38-lap race, if you can make the tires go 19 laps, you could make it a one-stop event, which is what Mead has done for so many events this season. But that strategy has not worked out for him in a lot of these races. Real quickly, I want to go ahead and look at... I want to look at our leaders, but this duo will not stop fighting. This is honestly the best battle on track, it seems. But it does look like to me that Mead is pretty much going to come out the better of this. Although Jay Caesar is actually getting a little bit better run out of some of these corners, Mead is neutralizing that by just having a better straight line speed advantage. And Caesar is burning up his tires trying to hold Mead's equal going into these corners. So real quickly, I want to look at our race leaders. Dindu at the head of the field, 57% tire wear. Grand Wolf, who is in second, as Andrew and Doctorow are paying. Grand Wolf, who is running in second, is at 53% tire wear. We already looked at Little Caesar and Mead. Well, yeah, we've not looked at Little Caesar. I forgot Little Caesar has cleared this fight, and he's kind of off on his own. Little Caesar right now, 59% tire wear, so he has some of the worst tire life of everyone in the top 5 right now. As this fight continues to rage on for 4th and 5th. Any moment now, I anticipate that we will see Jay Caesar pitting as he is now losing touch with Mead at this stage of the event. And the big problem for J. Caesar is that it's a 38-lap race. If you want to split this into 3 chunks, so just making a 2-stopper, you'd have to go 13 laps on your tires. I just don't know if J. Caesar has what it takes to do that. I look at Mead. Mead is at 38% wear. He might have to commit to a 2-stopper, try to go medium, soft, soft. Or if he wants to do a 1-stopper, he could try the medium hard, but it doesn't look like Mead has the tires under him that could go to this race's halfway point. But J. Caesar has pretty much lost him now. So Little Caesar, honestly, kind of driver of day material right now. Typically, Little Caesar, he'll have a decent start compared to his father, but he's normally way off of his father's pace. And Dindu is paying on lap 11. So that's an interesting decision. Dindu paying a lot earlier than we anticipated, so this will cycle the race lead over to Grand Wolf, I imagine. I think Dindu will lead this lap. No, his pit box is before the line. So Grand Wolf will inherit the race lead, but Little Caesar, his tires are more worn than Dindu's, but he is staying out a little bit longer. Also, J. Caesar stays out another lap as well. I imagine that a lot of these drivers are thinking, hey, I want to get to the end of lap 12 or the end of lap 13 for my first stop to try and make it a nice even 2-stopper. Dindu could be putting himself at risk by pitting maybe a lap earlier than what he needed to. Another little fight that's been going on. SRD Shredder currently running ahead of Ludicrous Speed and running ahead of this Lexus driver here, AMS Rambo. Prius Killer, after making his stop, he is still buried back here in the 10th position right now. He's just not really been in position to do anything and didn't do it. That giant gap he opened up earlier, he is already here running in the 5th position right now. I'm really interested to see when J. Caesar pits and then when everyone else pits in relation to him. Because Dindu is running down J. Caesar with speed now, as J. Caesar has completely lost touch with Mead at this stage of the event. And Lil Caesar, 10 seconds off of Grand Wolf. Could Grand Wolf be on for our next new winner in the IESC GT season? We have had a large number of winners. Valkyrie's won a bunch of races. We've had Avocado win 2 races. Dindu has won a race. J. Caesar has won races. And Mead has won races. We've had 5 different race winners this season. Could Grand Wolf be in position to be our 6th? Mead is actually starting to close in slowly but surely on PTG Lil Caesar now that he's running in clean air, but that also may have something to do with the fact that Lil Caesar has pushed his tires to an extreme degree, and he's still out there. Lil Caesar still has not yet pitted, but his tires are in the 70% wear mark. Lil Caesar may have pushed his rubber farther than where he needs it to go. Look at this, 70% wear. And he has to go around the entire circuit. This is just going to kill his momentum here. We're going to take a quick break. But when we're back, we should see the rest of our leaders start making pit stops. All right, welcome back here to Silverstone. As your race leader, Graham Wolf, has made his first stop. PTG Little Caesar got easily disposed of by Mead. He has immediately gone ahead and taken service. Dindu has also gotten by Jay Caesar, and I imagine Jay Caesar is also going to be pitting this lap. No, Jay Caesar has decided not to pit this lap, and his tires are even worse off. What in the devil is going on? Jay Caesar might have an accident or an incident here. He also has engine damage as well, but everything has gone sideways for Jay Caesar. He has pushed the tires too far, he has engine damage, and has completely lost the plot. This might be all that it takes for me to potentially lock up the championship here, because Jay Caesar had a horrible last lap, and this lap is looking even worse. He may be at risk of getting overtaken by SRD Shredder here, which hasn't happened since the event at Hockenheimring over a month and a half ago. Now look at Shredder. Shredder has yet to make his first stop, but he's only now at the 52% range. Shredder may be in for a long haul, trying to push his tires to lap 19. It would be a bold strategy. Here's the other thing of interest, though. Dindu on fresh rubber is absolutely chewing away at Mead's lead over him right now. It is only 6 seconds. Grand Wolf is currently third, 10 seconds behind our race leader. But Dindu is chewing away at Mead's advantage. The big thing, though, is that Dindu has pitted, Mead has not. We know Dindu is fast enough to get by Jay Caesar, but is he fast enough to overcome a potential pit stop deficit to AMS Mead, who runs 6.7 seconds ahead? We have seen on multiple occasions this season. Hockenheim was a small example, but the big examples were at... Sorry, I saw something and then I realized I didn't see it right. But the big examples have been at Road America and at the Sunset Peninsula Roval, where Mead has pushed his tires. He takes his ability to manage tires for granted and ends up over-stressing the tires and just absolutely burning all the good off of them. Thing is, Mead doesn't have to worry about winning races. He just needs to finish ahead of Jay Caesar. Jay Caesar finally pits on lap 14, but he has lost so much time, so much track position. I don't see any way that he'll be able to close back in on Mead before this is over unless we have some yellow flags. And even then, Mead may still have the advantage with some yellows falling. Dindu continues to close in on AMS Mead, who runs in second. But Dindu is on fresher rubber. Mead, again, does not have to fight for race wins. Obviously, a race win would help him significantly. He might put him in a position where he can lock up the title today. Of course, being able to lock up the title or not is going to come down a lot to just how many drivers actually show up to the Nürburgring race, considering that the series pays out points all the way down to 23rd position. But we've only had 23 drivers in the first two races of the season. We don't know how many drivers may show up next week, but still, Mead could be in a really good position. He might not be on race-winning strategy right now, but he could be on a strategy that could bring him home a podium finish, while his title rival, Jay Caesar, has completely lost the plot, running 12th right now, 38 seconds behind Mead. What are his tires looking like? 54% on that right front. And again, if you want to make this a single stop race, Mead needs to pit on lap 19. At the end of lap 19. So he still has 4 more laps that he has to push on this thing. But Graham Wolf is honestly closing on Dindu faster than Dindu. He's catching your race leader. So it seems like the Lexuses once again have a ridiculous advantage. Not in straight line speed this time, but in just sheer amount of grip. Nothing is matching what these two Lexuses at the head of the field have when it comes to grip right now. Prius Killer has cycled himself up back into the 4th position, but Prius is on such a radically alternate tire strategy from most of the other front runners. I would not be surprised if we see him drop down the order later in the event. But it does seem like it's going to be me, Dindu, and Grand Wolf fighting for this race win. And of the three of them, I imagine that Grand Wolf has the best likelihood of pulling off the victory here. Shredder runs 5th at the moment, but again, Shredder has not yet made his first pit stop. 60%, but again, if you complete this lap and then 3 more, you'd be good to the end on stops. But again, if you're Shredder, I don't know if that's the way to go. You might want to consider pitting this lap, putting on softs, run the softs until they're cooked, and then doing it again on softs. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not as good as I think, but I think Shredder is trying to push himself to a one-stop strategy, which is the same thing that I believe our current race leader, AMS Mead, is pushing himself to as well. And Mead is seen 2nd and 3rd, closing in on him, but this duo does have a fight between each other that they have to take care of first. Dindu inside, Grand Wolf outside. Dindu has the ideal line, but Grand Wolf is not struggling with grip, it seems. Dindu is struggling a bit. He didn't struggle with grip when he was in clean air, but when he starts fighting with people, he seems to lose ground. But now Grand Wolf has cleared the Ferrari, so Lexus's run 1-2, and Grand Wolf is going to try and run down Mead. Grand Wolf trying to be our 6th different winner this season. Mead trying to fight for what would be his 4th win this year. I said 3rd earlier, it'd be his 4th win, I believe. No, it'd be his 3rd. You're right, it would only be his 3rd. Mead trying to fight for what would be his 3rd win this season. Dindu would be fighting for what would be his 2nd. And immediately, Grand Wolf just kind of left Dindu in the dust. Now, credit, Dindu is still closing on Mead with significant pace. So Mead looking like he's trying to commit to a one-stop strategy once more. PM making his stop. That'll drop him to the rear of the field now. Jay Caesar's already cycled up to 9th, but again, 36 seconds out from the race leader, and while he's going to gain a lot of that back after Mead makes his stop, Jay Caesar is so far back. I hate to say it, but unless Mead makes a big mistake, this title fight looks like it's over. Looking at the tire life for Mead, 61% right now on that left front. And if he wants to make this a one-stop affair, he still needs to complete 2 more laps after this one. Grand Wolf now within less than 2 seconds. So Wolf just about to outrun the pit stop that he's already served. He's got 21%, so he can do this for a while. And Mead is pitting now. So Mead pits 2 laps before the halfway point. And this cycles Grand Wolf into the race lead. With that in mind, we'll go ahead and clear out a ad break now so we don't have to worry about interrupting later on when actual stuff is happening. Okay, so that is Rambo and Shredder both pitting. So Rambo and Shredder have both made it exactly halfway through, and they will likely not make another stop for the rest of the day today. This is the fight for fourth. Mead has cleared Little Caesar for the moment, as Little Caesar is trying to figure out a way to get back by. Mead 20 seconds behind Grand Wolf, but Mead, he pitted before halfway by about 2 laps. So is he going to commit to a 2-stop strategy, go softs for the last 2 stints, or is he put on hard tires so he doesn't have to worry about tire fall off anymore? That's going to be the big question. The 6% wear already on the tires, I have a feeling he's probably put on softs. Or at least mediums. He could put on mediums and then might try a short stop to the end here. But it does look like right now Mead has Little Caesar's number and is slowly pulling on the BMW driver. Again, Mead lost a lot of time earlier, but now he has fresher tires than most of the other cars on track around him, so he'll be able to pick up and dispose of most of these other drivers without too much issue. Oh, and PM has dropped out. We'll extend an interview out to PM to see if he'll be able to join and say anything or not. That strategy by Shredder and Rambo to do a single stop strategy has now cycled them to the very back of the grid as they're trying to make a single stop strategy work, but maybe they can still make something of it. If they get a well-timed yellow, they could bunch up to the back of the field, but considering how wide this circuit is and how spread out most of the field is, that may not be an issue. Prius making his pit stop about halfway through this event. So I anticipate that Prius is on a 3-stop strategy, probably just going soft, 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 just trying to blitz fast laps out all day long to make something happen. But that will cycle Mead back into 3rd position. And right now, the gap between Little Caesar and J. Caesar, 13 seconds on track. That is devastating, to say the least. Well, in that fight for 3rd for the Drivers' Championship, Dindu and Prius Killer are both way ahead on track compared to Ludacris and SRG Shredder right now. Now, strategy has yet to fully play out, but I would not be surprised to see either Prius or Dindu significantly close the gap and make it a very, very tight 4-way fight for 3rd in Drivers' Points next week at Nürburgring Nordschleife. Graham Wolf continues to slowly walk away from NDL Dindu. Again, Dindu pitted early on the first stint, and he's going to have to pay the piper and go through some extra tire wear at some point. But even at that, Graham Wolf seems to have Dindu mostly beat right now, and is slowly, it's not massive opening, but he is slowly opening the gap on that Ferrari. Little Caesar has generally lost touch now with AMS Mead. The two, a Dodge and another Dodge, are sandwiching the Aston Martin of AMS Andrew, and this driver ahead of him, NFL Racer. After post-race penalties were levied, NFL Racer ended up with his first top 5 finish of the season 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen. So his best result thus far this season, best result for any Dodge entry this season. It's been hard to tell if the problem has been in the driver's seat with the lack of setup or with the balancing of the cars week on week, but the Dodges have not ever had a good run up to the top 5, and really the only reason he was able to pull out a top 5 finish is that at the end, a lot of other drivers at that Watkins Glen race had burnt out tires and just couldn't really fight. And then there was also the late race yellow, which helped bunch the field up. And then on top of that, one of the drivers who finished ahead of him had a massive points penalty as well, or a massive position penalty as well, and it took all of that just to get NFL a top 5 result. It's a shame because we've seen in other series that NFL Racer absolutely has speed and ability, but he does not seem to be able to make much use of the Dodge GT3 as he has slid off circuit here twice in 2 corners, and that's going to back AMS Andrew right up to him now. mind you, Indoctro is not that far behind, and then behind them is Ludicrous Speed. Gap versus second has opened up to 6.5 seconds and continues to slowly increase at this stage of the event. Looking up at the fight for third once again here. Little Caesar has not let Mead get away. He's keeping the Lexus honest. Little Caesar trying to fight for what would be his second straight podium in 2 starts. He did not start Watkins Glen, but he did come home second at the Road America race, which was about 3 weeks ago. He'd love to go back-to-back on podiums. Again, Mead is on a radically different tire strategy compared to Little Caesar. Little Caesar pushed his tires pretty far. Not as far as his father did. He pushed his tires pretty far. We think that Little Caesar is on a 2-stop strategy. Mead could be on a 1-stop if he's going medium to hards. Jay Caesar still 13 seconds behind this fight. Nowhere close. When the BMWs have grip, they're able to put the power down out of these corners much better than the Lexuses. It does look like they have a better setup, but the overall build of the Lexus just means that the Lexus struggles less with grip in the rears of the top cars, even as the tires are falling off, while the BMWs still, they have more grip initially at the start of a tire run, but as it goes on, they just continue to bleed off. And the Lexuses, they don't have as much as the start, but it seems like they bleed off a lot less and a lot slower. Although with how far Mead pushed that first stint, that may not matter. Because again, if Mead is going to commit to making another stop, which considering his tire life, I think he is going to commit to making another stop, it could get really, really frustrating. Again, Little Caesar right now, he's at 51% tire wear. And if you want to make this a easy 2-stop race, Little Caesar needs to push these tires out to lap 25 to 26, somewhere around there. All right, around the outside, we've seen Little Caesar set up this move and try to make it stick several times before. Mead's wise to it. It seems to have a little bit more grip rolling out of the corner. Now, I think Little Caesar may be at a point where the tires are burning up the best of what they have. Gap at the front now open to 9 seconds of Graham Wolf over Dindu. Again, Graham Wolf has a tire advantage that will likely last to the end of this race over the Ferrari driver. So it looks like the top 2 results are decided. The fight is going to be for third between Mead and Little Caesar. We know that Mead's not going to make another stop just based on how his tires are wearing away. Or at least I'm assuming that he's not making another stop based on how his tires are wearing away. So if Mead's making another stop and Little Caesar is also making at least one more stop, it will be a fight between the 2 of them for this final podium position. Jay Caesar, to his credit, has closed 1 second over the last 2 laps, but he's still 12 seconds out. It's just not enough for him to make anything of it. Fight for that third in drivers' points. They were tied coming in here, SRD Shredder and Ludicrous Speed. And right now, Shredder, who shouldn't have to worry about pitting again to the end of this race, runs right behind Ludicrous. Ludicrous in 10th at the moment. Has not been having a great run of it. since he has made his stop and has actually fallen back into Shredder's clutch. It's not that Shredder's raced the professional. Ludacris just has not had what's taken to keep the car under him, and Shredder has closed back on him. These two were dead even for third in driver's points coming into today's event, and then Dindu was, I think, 80 or so points behind. In fact, I have my point sheet right here. I can look and see Ludacris trying to defend right now against Shredder. Shredder looks inside. He looks outside as they dive into the corner. Shredder just backs out. Ludacris went too deep, and Shredder is going to complete the overtake as Ludacris just completely bombs the corner. Yeah, Dindu was 60 points behind this duo coming into today's event. And right now, Dindu could be in position to close up by at least 25 to 35 points of that today. Ludacris has just kind of lost the plot with the cars ahead of him on track. And with these two running this far back, and then Prius running in 6th, and Dindu running in 2nd right now, there's a high likelihood that neither of these two will be in position to take home 3rd in points after next week's race at Nürburgring Nordschleife. Of course, that does come down to if Dindu shows up to the final race, and if you can avoid misfortune there, because misfortune at Nordschleife is much, much more problematic than any other circuit on the schedule. And then if you look just ahead of this duo, you have another fight going on, and that is between AMS and Doctor, and AMS Andrew, NFL racer, has legitimately pulled away by a decent amount here. And Prius Killer might be in position to steal 5th from Jay Caesar, depending on how the rest of Jay Caesar's race goes. But right now, it does seem like Jay Caesar is Prius's better right now. It seems like in today's event, the Lexuses are the best, the Ferraris are the 2nd best car, then all the BMWs are the 3rd best car, and then everything else is just kind of meshed together. But again, it's hard to tell how much of that comes down to having better tuners or better drivers, and how much of that is actually the balance around here. It looks like AMS and Doctro is going to come into pit with 13 laps to go. So with that in mind, I imagine we're going to start seeing a lot more drivers pitting for their final stop over the next 2 to 3 laps. So we're going to take a break now, and hopefully we'll catch the beginning of the final round pit stops when we return. Well, interesting developments near the front of the field, although I might be reading too much into it. But Grand Wolf is starting to lose his gap to Dindu. He has pushed his tires to 70% wear at this stage of the event. Dindu has pushed his only to about the 56% mark. But Graham Wolf, with some significant front tire wear, is now seeing his lead over Dindu start to quickly evaporate. In similar notes, Lil Caesar is now completely lost touch with Mead, has fallen more than 10 seconds out from the Lexus currently in third. Jay Caesar may have a shot at overtaking his son in these closing moments of this stint, but right now it's not looking very good for Lil Caesar. Still, most of these drivers were likely preparing to make their final stop to put on one more set of mediums that will go, in theory, to the end of this race. But Graham Wolf absolutely struggling. He had a gap that was almost 10 seconds, and now he has lost about a third of that and may be poised to lose even more before he makes it into the pit box. Mead, all things considered, is kind of the wild card here because Mead is likely still going to make another pit stop. At least that's what we're anticipating he's going to do, make one more pit stop today. As Graham Wolf finally makes his stop, so this should cycle Dindu either even with him or in front of him, depending on if Dindu pits this lap or not. No, Dindu is going to stay out a little longer. My question is, will Dindu stay out long enough that when he makes his final stop, he'll be on soft tires to try and run down Graham Wolf to the end here? Graham Wolf seems to be doing a medium strategy, while Dindu, he did not go very far in the first stint, but went very far on tires in the second stint, and might try and shorten up the final stint as well. As we see Lil Caesar and Jay Caesar now both pitting this time by. So Dindu is your leader, Mead runs in second, Graham Wolf is in third. And he is about 6 seconds behind Mead at the moment. Prius Killer will briefly move up into the fourth position, but realistically, I think he's just fighting for a top 5 result between him and the Caesars. Shredder, during that commercial break, Shredder absolutely dove on ludicrous speed with a little bit of door bang going into Maggots. And by doing so, he cleared ludicrous speed and has since opened up a 2-second gap on the Chevrolet. So the Chevy just has not seemed to have any kind of performance whatsoever in today's event. Andrew runs about 2 seconds behind Ludacris at the moment. Not really close enough to make anything happen, though. So after it's all done, Lil Caesar is still ahead of his father, Jay Caesar, but it's only by about 2 seconds. Jay Caesar typically has been Lil Caesar's better. Now, there have been some races, for instance, Le Mans, where Lil Caesar's been ahead of Jay Caesar for the majority, and then the final stint, Jay Caesar's experience puts him ahead of Lil Caesar. We may be looking at another result like that, but the problem for the Caesar family is that their real focus was to try and finish ahead of Mead by a significant amount by the end of this race. It just does not look like that's going to happen. Mead is going to join Dindu in the pits with 11 laps to go here, so this will cycle Graham Wolf back into the race lead. So with 11 laps to go, you could make softs go to the end. It's not going to be easy, but running soft tires to the end of the race could be possible. It could be a legit strategy. As Graham Wolf goes back to the head of the field here. Prius Killer still in fourth, but he has yet to make his next stop. Once he makes his final stop, he'll probably put on softs again, and I imagine he'll fall to about the 6th or 7th position, somewhere around there. Right now, he's keeping Mead packed up behind him. But Mead has fresh tires, Prius has very worn tires. The gap at the front is 8 seconds. But again, I anticipate that Dindu will be on softer rubber and will be faster to the end of this race. Thing is, if he wants to run that gap down, Dindu has to be faster by Graham Wolf by 9/10 to a full second to lap, and that's assuming that he catches Graham Wolf immediately on the last lap in the final corners. If he wants to actually get him and then get by him, he's going to want to be a little bit more than a second a lap faster. We'll keep an eye on that. Because if Grand Wolf has mistimed his tires, he might burn the tires up something nasty in the last 2 laps, and Dindu could close a big amount earlier. We saw earlier the gap went from almost 10 seconds to just barely over 5 seconds. That wouldn't be enough to give Dindu the win this time. But if Grand Wolf miscalculated, it could have a knock-on effect. So Mead has already cleared Prius Killer as they come out of the Magus and Beckett's corners. Shredder, I thought, or at least I assumed, was not going to make another pit stop to the end of this race, but his tires are in position that he's not going to be able to make it like this. He's going to have to stop and probably put on softs to the end of this. So Shredder on the first set of tires went incredibly long. It's almost like Shredder's doing some sort of hard, medium, soft strategy, or a hard, soft, maybe it's hard, soft, soft. But it seems like the decision to make only a single pit stop, this has not worked out. And yes, here comes Shredder now. So he'll be paying with 9 laps left in the event. So yeah, Shredder will likely put on sauce and just be blitzing it to the end of the event here. We'll keep an eye on where Shredder ends up in relation to Ludicrous speed later. I do believe Ludicrous has already made his final stop. Well, Prius can go ahead and pit pretty much whenever he wants, and he'll probably be able to throw on soft tires and go hard for a top 5 finish to the end. He has a 17-second lead over the Caesar family right now. His little Caesar continues to hold station over his father, Jay Caesar, with about 9 laps left. Jay Caesar is closing. It's been a horrible, horrible first half of the race for Jay Caesar. Little Caesar didn't have a great start, but he had a much, much better one than his father. And Little Caesar was running into the top 3 on merit at one point. Now it looks like they're just going to be fighting with Prius Killer for what will be a top 4, 4th, 5th, and 6th place finish. It's a little hard to figure out who's going to finish where amongst the 3 of them. Prius still has yet to make his final stop. Even though he's pretty much lost touch with me. And there you are, Prius is going to pit now. So Prius is going to pit with about 8 laps to go. So again, I imagine he'll run soft tires to the end of this event. And that fight between Shredder and Ludicrous, Shredder is still a small straightaway ahead of Ludicrous right now. It's about a 5-second gap, almost 6 seconds. So yeah, without a doubt, I think Shredder's going to end up having Ludicrous's number and will retake 3rd in driver's points over Ludicrous after the end of today's event. But again, the big thing is going to be Dindu on track to come home 2nd. He has honestly lost time to Grand Wolf, so I think the fight for the race win is over. But Dindu with another 2nd place finish here. He has done nothing but finish 1st or 2nd in every race he has started since Spa-Francorchamps. And with that in mind, that Dindu is on a great run. If he had shown up for at least one more race, he would have locked up 3rd in the championship already. But as it is right now, he's trying to dig out of a hole, missing 2 races. And it'll be interesting to see where it ends up putting him. So we're going to go ahead and take one more ad break before we get to the run to the finish here. Welcome back to Silverstone. We're just going to spend a full lap on board with Prius Killer as he tries to run down the Caesar family, who runs 8 seconds ahead of him on track. The fight for fourth is very much alive, and Jay Caesar, in the closing lap, seems to have clipped his son's wings and will move up into fourth. The bad news for Jay Caesar, though, it's more a matter of pride. Unless Mead has a complete catastrophic meltdown, he is 18 seconds ahead of this duo, and it just does not seem to be any way for the BMW drivers to do anything to the Lexus or the Ferrari drivers today. Graham Wolf holds 9 seconds ahead of Dindu. The gap seems to have stabilized there for the moment, but unless Graham Wolf suffers some horrendous misfortune, he is set to be our 6th different race winner this season. Jay Caesar runs just ahead of Little Caesar. Still, Little Caesar got a great advantage over his father earlier by the end of the first stint, but it's just all kind of gone pear-shaped, and I think Little Caesar may be at risk, depending on how bad his tires are. He may be at risk of losing fifth to Prius Killer. His tires are at 33%. He should be okay. Thing is, Prius is likely on softs. That will go to the end of this event, but Prius is going to burn the best of his tires off real quickly, and by the time he catches Little Caesar, his tires will be just as worn, if not more worn, than Little Caesar's. And still, the gap is only 9 seconds, so I think Prius can really only expect 6th for the best, unless, again, someone ahead of him has some sort of catastrophic failure. Shredder has moved up into 8th over NFL Racer, and Lucas Speed runs in 10th right now. We look at our race leader, Graham Wolf. What is his tires looking like? 35% right now for Wolf, and for Dindu, we believe is on a softer tire compound. 30%, so he might not be on a softer tire compound. But Dindu does have tires that are less worn than Graham Wolf, but they're not massively less worn. It seems like our top 3 finishing results are pretty much decided. And for Mead, it's another 3rd place finish. Similar to what Dindu has been doing, Mead has been on a long streak of podium finishes. It's not been easy because he's had other drivers who have been in the title fight being right on top of him at the end of a lot of these. You know, Jay Caesar won the last 2 races and really made the championship fight close, but it seems like the numbers have turned up in Mead's favor, and he is now poised to bring home a podium when he has none of his real title rivals right on top of him in the points. Little Caesar has not let his father get away completely, not yet at least. They're still staying nose to tail. Again, Little Caesar trying to eclipse RZM Valkyrie, who won 5 of the first 7 races of the season and then just hasn't shown up since. Little Caesar poised himself to try and overtake him. This has been Little Caesar's, I believe, 9th or 10th start. I think 10th start this year. We don't know if he's going to show up to next week's race at Nürburgring Nordschleife. And yeah, Prius is just nowhere close to this duo right now. AMS Rambo is bleeding out time at this stage of the event. He is on a one-stop strategy, and it's going pear-shaped for him. He has slipped behind Shredder, slipped behind NFL Racer, and at the rate it's going, he may slip behind Ludicrous Speed as well. And it's kind of one of the interesting things about the AMS drivers, outside of the race at the Sunset Peninsula Roval, where a VOP mess-up meant that all the Lexuses were massively overpowered. This season, AMS has been really a mediocre team, and then Mead has been outright dominating and is in position to walk off with the title. Granted, he's likely going to do it only off the back of 2 wins, but Mead has been absolutely incredible this season compared to all of his AMS teammates, even other AMS drivers who are running the exact same car, and you figure the exact same too. One, I think that the problems is that Rambo keeps trying these one-stop strategies, and he kind of commits to them hard and is not willing to give himself any room for compromise, while at least Mead kind of realizes, okay, I need to abandon these strategies, go do something else, and he'll salvage, you know, a 3rd place out of a day that could have been a 4th or a 5th. Gap between the top 2 has opened up to 10 seconds. So again, unless Graham Wolf has a catastrophic failure, he is going to win this event. Our top 3 positions are all locked up. There's the question for 4th and 5th. Prius is in 6th. He's now 11 seconds out of this duo. He just does not have the pace to keep up in this final stint of the event here. Most of the other positions are settled, although there is a likelihood that Ludacris will clip Rambo for the 9th position before this is over. But really, it's just this fight for 4th and 5th. Little Caesar, I believe, has finished behind his father in every single race this season except one, if not everyone. I think he has finished behind him in everyone. Either he has finished behind him in everyone, or it's been really, really close. I can't remember where they were at Yaz or Kyalami the first 2 races, but every race since then, Jay Caesar has beat his son at the end. Little Caesar would love to turn that upside down, I imagine. It doesn't look like it's happening right now, unless there ends up being a significant tire advantage that one of them have. Little Caesar not quite to the 50% mark. Jay Caesar not there either. They're about even on tires, all things considered. Little Caesar does have the toe off of his father, but is not close enough to make moves. However, they're both pulling away from Prius at a respectable, reliable pace. Ludicrous Speed about to catch AMS Rambo. This would be a really, really disheartening result for AMS. Mead may get 3rd, but all of the AMS drivers poised to round out the back of the field of all of the finishers. Pretty easy. Ludicrous dispatches of Rambo without any issue. NFL Racer runs about 2.5 seconds behind Shredder, so it's unlikely that's going to change. So Shredder will go back to having a 10-point advantage over Ludicrous going into the last race of the season in their fight for 3rd in drivers' points. Prius Killer He's going to close, but not by much. He's really only going to close by about 5 points on Shredder, about 15 on Ludacris. The big wild card is going to be Dindu. Dindu is going to close by, I believe, 30 points. And in a tiebreaker, Dindu will have them, but the gap was 60 points, I believe, coming into this race. And I think after this, assuming that everyone finishes where they are right now, it will be the gap between Shredder and Dindu will close down to 30 points. The gap between Dindu and Ludacris will close down to 15 points. Prius, he's going to need a lot of people to show up, and all those guys have him have some issues. But credit to him for being able to keep his fight for that third place position alive. And to be fair, if Ludacris or Shredder or Dindu have a really bad run, he might still be able to snipe one of them at Nürburgring Nordschleife. Little Caesar seems to be losing touch with his father, Jay Caesar, here in these closing moments. Not the most exciting Silverstone race, but it seems like this is going to be the one that really decides how this championship turns out. When the pressure was on for Jay Caesar, just could not make it stick. Was it a driver issue? Was it a setup issue? Was it a balancing issue? Jay Caesar even went privately to talk with Shredder about the balancing of the cars midweek for this race. And Shredder actually ended up agreeing with him after consulting with some other balancers. The BMW got a buff, and yet still, none of the BMW drivers have really been able to fight forward, and Jay Caesar hasn't helped himself by pushing his tires at one point to 78% tire wear and damaging the engine as well in the first stint of the race. For him, that kind of story of making those kind of mistakes and still bouncing back and forth should be a heroic tale, but when you had a championship on the line, it's going to be more of a pain in the chest, knowing that that could be what sacrificed the title from him. He currently runs 19 seconds behind Mead, so I do think Mead's been faster than Jay Caesar, even when they've both been running clean on track, but we figured that Jay Caesar lost anywhere from 12 to 14 seconds from the engine damage and spending an extra lap or two longer on track than he needed to. And while he's still 19 seconds behind, I'm sure Jay Caesar would love to say, look, if I was only 3 or 4 seconds out, I could capitalize on Mead. I could put Mead under pressure. One of the big things that's really helped Mead is that Mead was initially doing a one-stop strategy by the looks of it, but was able to abort as his title rival just completely fell off and blew his race up. So Mead was able to abort and go to an alternate, less ideal strategy. If Jay Caesar was right on top of Mead and didn't have that engine damage or didn't push his tires too far, Mead may have decided to stick with his original one-stop strategy, and that could have compromised them even more. Or maybe not. Maybe Mead would have been just where he is right now. It's one of those things where you don't really want to say coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I have to say something to keep everyone invested. As we see our race leader, Grand Wolf, come across the line for the white flag. That right front tire of his is cooked, 62% wear. But with a 9-second gap over NDL Dindu, as long as he doesn't go off circuit and bury it into a wall, he is sure to walk off with this win. Grand Wolf has not started very many races this season. He started a race very early on, started at Watkins Glen as well, but had a big accident, didn't finish his race there. Qualified second, got out in front, got to second early on, ran down Dindu on merit, and it's been smooth sailing for Grand Wolf since. It'd be his first finish in the top 5, I believe, this whole season, and the win. And after 13 races, he would be our 6th different winner. Would be absolutely incredible. Just needs to not make any mistakes. We are seeing Dindu now closing the gap down. It's less than 9 seconds, but with only half a lap to go. Again, as long as Wolf doesn't stuff it into a tire barrier, it's over. Ludacris has gotten by NFL Racer in the last lap and a half. So the gap between Shredder and Ludacris will be only a 5-point gap instead of a 10-point gap. And while Prius will close on both Shredder and Ludacris in the points, it's only going to be by 5 points, and it's not going to be enough. We'll need a big field at next week's race and a lot of misfortune for him to try and eclipse them. Graham Wolf in the Lexus. It would be our third different Lexus winner this season. Remember, Indiel Avocado swapped cars to away all of his points just so he could glory hunt and get the race win at Sunset Roval in the Lexus. And then obviously Mead's 2 wins have also comes in Lexuses this season as well. If there was a Manufacturers Championship, Lexus would absolutely be at the top of it. But out of the final corner, Graham Wolf in the number 20 machine. It's been relatively smooth sailing for him, and he will take his first IESC GT win here at Silverstone. And for Indiel Dindu, another second place. And that will launch him back into the fight, a strong position with that fight for third in driver's points. Mead will come home third. And while his title rival Jay Caesar will come home fourth, the gap will be at 70 points, or 65 points, leaving today. So Mead just needs to not make any mistakes next week. Jay Caesar will come home fourth, just ahead of his son, Little Caesar. And Prius Killer will come home in sixth. SRD Shredder will fight through, deal with the fact that he, like Mead, had to change strategy mid-race and will bounce back for a 7th place finish. And Ludicrous Speed will take home 8th, will only be 5 points behind Shredder. So while the championship is all but decided, that fight for third in points is going to be the big thing to watch next week. An NFL racer, it's not a great result, but he will take home 9th. And for his quest to also try and close in on RZM Valkyrie 4 seasons over, this will help him with that. He just needs to show up next week and bring home decent points then as well. AMS Andrew and Doctro and Rambo will round out the back of the field here. So we're going to take a quick ad break and then invite all of our top 5 finishers in for interviews. All right, just getting our top result drivers here into the party. I hope Grand Wolf is able to jump in. Give us just a little bit here. Can you 3 hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if our first or second place finishers are going to jump in and talk with us or not. It's kind of a shame because I'd really like to hear from Didn't Do after that, and I'd really like to congratulate Wolf on that win, but I mean, if they're not able or willing to jump in, I can't force them. Oh well, we'll go ahead and start with interviews then, I guess. Go ahead. We'll start with 5th place finisher, PTG Little Caesar. Little Caesar, go ahead, include your audio. Interesting race. You ran as high as 3rd place early on, but at the end it slipped away and you fell to 5th. What do you have to say about your run out there?
I think overall the first stint, Mead being on the mediums, I just lost like second half 2 seconds a lap. Couldn't get past them, defended really well, so I lost a lot of time there. And then overall, the last 4 to 5 laps of every stint, the tyres were just dead, like 56, 60% wear. So I was losing about a second half, 2 seconds every lap, so just didn't have the pace right at the end to catch at the end of each stint.
Yeah, kind of a shame because it did look like you were on for a fantastic run. Is another respectable result for you, another top 5 result. 1 race left at Nürburgring Nordschleife next week. Will you be showing up there?
Most likely not, unless
Was that a question for me? I loaded in like halfway through.
series is cancelled, then I won't be there next week.
All right, just wait for a little bit, Lucas. All right, well, still, it has been a pretty solid result for you, Little Caesar. Most of your finishes, I believe, have been top 5 results, so it has been a pretty solid season for you. Yeah, obviously, you say you're probably not going to show up next week, so I'll go ahead and ask now. Do you think you'll be running in towards 24 Hours of Daytona, and do you think you'll run in IESC's next series that will be taking place after that is over?
I am running in Daytona in the Proto Jaguar, and depending on the dates of when your next series starts, I may or may not, as I'm most likely going to be doing the touring cars when that starts up.
All right. Well, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, mate. It's been great to hear from you. It's great to have you been running with us for this entire season. I hope we get to see you next week, but I understand if it's not going to happen. Let's go ahead and talk with our 4th place finisher, PTG J. Caesar. Caesar the Elder has been a interesting race, to say the least. If it was any other day, I would be saying, look, you overran the tires, you blew up the engine, and you still came home 4th. That's incredible. But considering the grounder championship picture, 4th place really has to sing after the end of today's event. What do you have to say about your run out there?
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing. I think that's going to be the championship wrapped up now. It's going to take Mead to have a very nasty crash at the ring and lose a ton of time or places in order for me to win. So I think that's pretty done. He did an incredible job, Mead, on those mediums in that first part of the stint. Held up 4 or 5 cars for a good half a dozen laps or so. I was going for a risky strat on sauce off sauce, so I had to go really far on the first one. And I was kind of just hoping that Mead was going to do a one-stop, like medium strat, which I think is what he intended to do. But then I'd already got onto my second set, and then he changed his strat up, and then I'm already committed to what I had to do. Yeah, the 3% engine damage I got. I think was it a move? I think it's turn 4 there, really tight left, diving on the inside slightly because I had the run there, and I had to go down into first gear, and yeah, that just caused some damage, and it basically made me like I was driving on mediums then with Mead when I was fighting with him. If I could have got ahead, who knows? But yeah.
All right, well, even if the championship seems to be mostly wrapped up, I do have to ask, you're likely showing up to Nürburgring Nordschleife. What are your anticipations for your results there?
Well, it's a very difficult track. It separates the men from the boys. On tracks where I might be half a second off, say, the very, very best, or a second off the very best, say, like maybe even Silverstone, and we're talking top pace boys, you ramp that up on the ring, that can be like 7, 8, even 10 seconds. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a battle of attrition. Who can survive the longest, maybe? Yeah, it'll be an endurance race for all intents and purposes.
All right, well, I see what you said there. Separates the men from the boys. You just had to punch down on your son once more, considering I believe you finished ahead of him in all races this season that you two showed up in. So I see how it is. You had to get that one last thing in on him. All right,
Absolutely.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing what your results are going to be there, J. Caesar. I want to go ahead and turn our focus to AMS Mead. Mead, go ahead, include your audio. 3rd place. You've made a habit of finishing 3rd over the last several weeks. I think since Spa, every single race you have run, you have come home in 3rd. It made things a little tight, but a 3rd place now, you're going to have, I believe, a 70-point lead going into Nürburgring Nordschleife next week. Do you think that's enough for you to say that you have the championship won?
I'd say no. It's Nordschleife, Nürburgring, whichever layout it is.
It's the full,
it's
the entire thing, so... Yeah.
With the GP, okay. So it's still a very hardcore track. You've got one that's a normal track, and then you've got the other that's basically a road. So there's plenty of opportunities for people to die or be quicker in one place and then be slower in the other. I mean, it was very good championship fight. It's still very close, I would say. In that race, I tried my best to make it so the Caesars didn't get past me on purpose to make it so I had a bit more of a chance in the championship. So we'll see how it goes next week.
All right, well, a third place finish today was honestly pretty strong. I do have to ask, because from my perspective, it looked like you were trying to do the one stop again, and you actually had the ability to abort and go to an alternate strategy. Was that something you would have done regardless of the Caesars, or would you have committed to the one stop if Jay Caesar was able to clear you in that first stint?
Me changing my strat wasn't really to do with them. It was to do with tyre wearing when they started to fall off and looking at how long was left. I didn't want to go through what happened at sunset and just have no tyre grip whatsoever and have to go on the hards, so I changed it straight away as soon as I could.
All right, well, it seems like it worked out. You still pulled out a third place. Anyways, it's been a very interesting season for you. We'll be looking forward to what you can do next week at Nürburgring Nordschleife, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now I want to go ahead and talk to two other people who finished, well, three other people. I want to talk to four, but Didn't Do has not joined. I want to talk to three other people who finished way farther down the order. Prius Killer 8110, SRD Shredder, and Ludicrous Speed. Now, the three of you, along with Indiel Didn't Do, are all pretty much on top of each other in that fight for third in driver's points. Prius, you're a lot farther out. You have closed in, but you're still a lot farther out from the other two. Are you going to show up at Nürburgring? And if you do you think you have a chance at closing on Shredder, Ludicrous, or Didn't Do?
I will probably be showing. I probably won't be able to pass them. I suck at the Nürburgring, even at the GP layout, and I've hardly ever touched the Nordschleife, so expect to be in the wall maybe 50 million times, probably finishing last along with NFL.
All right, well, I can't fault your blunt honesty. In that case, there's just one other question I have to ask you, Prius. Were you doing a three-stop soft strategy today?
Yes, that was the intended plan.
All right. Well, at least I predicted that right. All right. So then the focus goes to Shredder and Ludicrous. Entering today's race, you guys were dead even on points. Leaving today, Shredder, you have a 5-point advantage over Ludicrous Speed. That's one position, assuming that neither of you guys end up in podium positions. Didn't Do came home second. Assuming I calculated correctly, you, Shredder, are only ahead of Didn't Do by 30 points, and you, Ludicrous, are only ahead of Didn't Do by 25 points. Do you guys think you can stay ahead of him for third in Drivers' Championship at Nürburgring Nordschleife?
If my car doesn't weigh as much as a fat camp fridge, I think I'll be okay.
It depends on how many people turn, because if there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people who like to get stuck behind, and Nordschleife has only got a few. I'm decent there, but you can get stuck behind someone really easy and lose a lot of momentum and speed. So if you get a full field, it's going to be interesting, because Dindu's going to be ahead of that field no matter what, because he's just got mad at that pace. But if there's small field, if I somehow found like some pace with some tuning that I'm going to be doing, then I don't know, there's maybe a chance I can keep ahead of him somehow.
Alright, well, we know then a tie between you all, amongst the three of you, obviously not including Prius, because Prius doesn't seem to think he has a shot at it, but in a tie between all of you guys, tiebreakers would be best finishes. Didn't Do has a race win. Shredder, you have a third for your best result at Hockenheim. Ludicrous, your best result has been fourth. So we know that's how tiebreakers would shake up amongst all of you. So we'll keep an eye on that. Even if the Drivers' Championship seems to decide, that fight for third is going to get really interesting and likely go to the last corners. One last thing to SRD Shredder as an official. 13 races in, we've had 6 different winners. Congratulations on that. Officially, this has been the most competitive IESC GT season since the very first season back in 2018. So congratulations on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it only took like the most dominant person at the first half to leave, so.
But anyways, with that in mind, I have been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Layer 13. Thank you very much for joining us. And in a week's time, we will see you all at the Green Hell, Nürburgring Nordschleife. Until then, thank you for joining us. Farewell and goodbye, everyone.